Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending the webinar. Let's get started. I'm super excited to welcome you to our child-friendly webinar. My name is Wayne, and I will be hosting this session. Today, our guest speaker is our founder, Laura Bancroft. Okay, let's take a look at the agenda for today. Okay, first I will introduce Laura, then I will pass it to her to present child-friendly, including the inspiration behind the company, an overview of our platform, some of our favorite features, pricing, and where we're headed in the future. We will then have our Q&A at the end. If you will refer to the top of your meeting screen, you will see an icon called Q&A. Click this icon to type and submit your questions, and I will organize and ask them at the end of the presentation. Starting with an introduction to Laura. She has significant experience in the childcare industry, overcoming the challenges of scale growth and regulations in the last 2 decades, as she grew from overseeing 100 to now over 2,000 childcare spaces across multiple locations. She has led the design of child-friendly from start to finish for maximizing operations, building a platform that is intuitive for daycare operators, and maximize efficiencies. For some quick fun facts, Laura is a mother of 11 children, enjoys listening to audiobooks and exploring the great outdoors. I will now pass it to Laura to present child-friendly. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for attending today. And it's been quite a week in the daycare world in Canada, so I appreciate you taking the time to come out to our webinar and to learn a little bit more about child-friendly. So just quickly, as Wayne talked a little bit about, I started child-friendly because the reality was when the CWELC program was coming in, a number of years ago, we could see the increasing government regulations that were coming. We were expanding, and the existing system we were using, we knew it couldn't cut it. There was just too many features that were frustrating, that didn't work. We demoed, I don't even know how many different, I pretty much demoed everybody out there. I even onboarded quite far into a few softwares, and just realized there really wasn't anything that was really designed by an operator. A lot of programmers that kind of did their best through consultations to figure out what operators need, but nobody that was really behind it, that was truly an operator and understood what was needed to manage a childcare center effectively. And with all these regulations and claims and all the different reporting that was coming on board and will continue to get more bureaucratic in our childcare industry, realized pretty quickly that I needed to develop our own software. So I separately incorporated a separate company. I partnered with some of the top developers in the country in that company, and child-friendly was born. So that's a little bit about the inspiration. We're now ready to bring it. We've been using it at our centers for a while now, and a few others, and we're now, essentially launching to all of the Alberta market and eventually, to the rest of Canada as well. So we're very excited to bring this to you and excited that you were able to make the time to learn more today. So I am actually going to jump right in to the actual platform itself. So here is the platform. So once you log in, you're going to see a screen like this. And I'm just going to give you today, we're going to spend some time, probably about half hour, 40 minutes of me actually doing a demo with you of the software. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into certain features. But of course, after this presentation, we can go a lot deeper, I would say. And so if you want to book a live demo with one of our support agents, we'd be happy to do that as well after if you have additional questions. We'll also leave some time at the end for Q&A. So jumping on in, this is the platform is what you're going to see. To give you a little orientation, on the left-hand side here is your main menu. So every module is along here. So you're going to have, right now we're in the attendance module, which I'll go a little bit deeper into the attendance module in a minute. You've got your dashboard, your families module, staff, communication, finances, and reports. This last one here is setup. We're not going to talk about that today. That's that one-time module that you're going to go to actually set up your groups and your rates and all those type of things. And then, if you have a rate increase or something like that, you'd go in there, but very minimally after the initial onboarding. But that's the setup module. So I'm actually going to start, we're not going to start with attendance. I actually want to start in the families module today. So in the families module, essentially what this is it's just a record of all of your families in your center. So it's going to have all your past, current, future, inactive, every family that you've ever had in your center is going to be in this kind of almost looks like an Excel sheet type thing. And in here along the top here, you're going to see different columns and headings. And so each one of these has filters. You can filter by all sorts of things, find your family that you're looking for, students, and so on. The headings I want to draw your attention to is status. So status here is how you filter by the status of the children in your care. So if you are looking for all of your current children, so children that as of right now in real time are actually actively enrolled in your center, you would filter by current. If you're looking for those that are scheduled to start in the future, you can look at future, inactive, past children, or of course pending children. Pending children would be children like on your wait list that are pending registration, or ones that have just enrolled and you haven't approved yet, would be pending. So that's a nice filter to have. Then you've got substatus filters. So if you want to specifically look at children that are waitlisted, children that are going to be withdrawing in the future, that have already withdrawn, there's all sorts of different ways you can filter by substatus. And information tags is another one. So information tags, children that have allergies, medication on file, flagged members, those members that maybe there's a court order and so you've flagged a member of their family that might try to pick up on days they're not allowed. All those different things you can filter for there. And then the last column I just want to quickly talk about, I mean, most of these are pretty self-explanatory, but is the onboarding one. So our onboarding tag system here essentially shows you if you have anything that's a licensing requirement that is missing on that child's file. So if you want to see if there's the basic information, so that's required for licensing, is their legal guardian on file? Do they have their non-emergency contact on file? If any of those are missing, they're going to receive a tag, and so you can make sure that you can deal with whatever that error is and filter them accordingly. There's also agreements in our system, which I'll show you a little bit later. All your agreements are signed digitally. There's no more tracking down paperwork, so you can easily filter by agreements to see if anybody's outstanding and hasn't signed on to an agreement that they're required. Bank information, have they put in their bank information or their auto payment? So that's just kind of a brief preview of this screen. Now we can dig a little deeper. We can actually click into what the child that we want to look at. So if I actually click into this child and this family, then it's going to pull up on the side here a menu that has all the details of that specific family or child. So along the top, I'm just going to give you, again, this is a demo, so we're going to give you a pretty decent orientation here. But along the top here, first you're going to have the children of the family. So you can see Jade as a child in this family, and you can go through and look at her personal information. Everything that you need is all stored in here for her. You can, if you are in Alberta, there is overnight care options versus regular extended. You probably recognize those fields with our government. There's also, if you want to add medication, all our medication is digitized, and we'll go through medication a little bit in a bit, but essentially the parents can add a medication form. They physically sign it digitally in their portal, and then it'll show up here for that family. And so you'll have medication forms right on here, and there's a way to actually administer the medication and track all that digitally. Then under the child, you've got their registration. So that's going to be essentially their schedule. So this child, as an example, is scheduled from July 31st to December 1st, 2027. This is a demo, so it looks like they've given their withdrawal notice quite in advance, but anyway, 2027, it looks like they're withdrawing, but you can see their schedule, and you can even click here to expand, and you can see what their schedule looks like. So from July 31st to August 31st, 25, it looks like they're in the preschool program. Then they move in September 2025, they're moving to the pre-K program. You can see the rates automatically adjusting, the groups, and so on. And they go to the kinder program. Eventually, they go to the OSC program. And so you can kind of see the whole life cycle, if you were, of the child in childcare. And the nice thing about this is these rates automatically adjust based on what you have in your setup, so that when that child ages up, let's say they go from 18 months to 19 months, that's when there's a ratio change in Alberta, using Alberta as our example, then their birthday, or not their birthday, sorry, that age change from 18 months to 19 months will actually trigger their rate change, depending on how you have it in your setup module. But all of that will happen automatically. So you never have to worry, oh, what is this? Which children are aging up this month? Do I need to change the rate? Do I need to physically go in there and adjust all that? It'll just happen automatically, and you don't have to think about that. And there's no human error on that side of things. And same with, of course, if they go from 3 years old to 4 years old, if you have a change in rate or however you have it in your setup, it'll all automatically occur, which is really handy. Some other quick little tabs here under the child is you got your attendance module, or your attendance tab. So I don't think I have any attendance under this child in this demo. Apologize for that. But you can kind of dig and see all of their attendance records specific to this child in there. School RSVP is another one, which we'll talk a little bit deeper about when we get into the dashboard. But essentially what school RSVP is for your school age children, any children that attend school that you pick up from school and drop off to school. Parents in their portal have the ability they have a school RSVP tab as well, and they can go in there and they can add any RSVPs they want. So they can say, hey, on October 23rd, please don't pick up Jade from school. And as soon as they submit that, it'll show in here under Jade. And then there is in the dashboard, which we'll show you, there's a section that your bus drivers will have access to. And when they're going to the school, they can pick up all the children, or they can see at a glance all the children that have said no pickup for that day. So it's really handy. They can filter by school and all of that, so that you don't have to deal with being concerned that children will get missed. So this feature we added because maybe you have a better system, but our system was atrocious. We had a whiteboard before we did ChildFriendly. And it was in the office. Parents would call in or email. Our office admin would have to remember to write on that whiteboard, oh, don't pick up Joey on this day. Or if it was 3 days from now and the whiteboard got really messy. And then the bus drivers would come in and quickly take a snapshot of that whiteboard. And then, of course, we all know a lot of parents last minute, oh, I forgot to tell the daycare. And so they quickly phone in and say, oh, don't forget, you don't need to pick up, my child today. And then suddenly the office admin has to, first of all, receive that email on time, receive that phone call on time, and then send a message to the bus driver and let them know, and they have to remember it. And anyway, it was a mess. So we added this system, and it's just been a beautiful thing for us going forward and making sure our students and our kids stay safe, and we know who we should be waiting for and who we are not needing to pick up. And then we've got journals. Which again, I'll show you in a minute, but when we get to the communicate section, but that's where you're going to see all the journal entries for that child. It's like a Facebook feed for that child that goes on to their parents' app. And so you can send photos and how much they napped today, how much they ate today, diaper changes, learning reports, all of that kind of stuff. So we'll go into that in a little bit more detail shortly. After that, you've got their parents, very similar to children. You've got your parent basic information screen here. You've got if you need to reset their password, access to their portal, and then some important fields here that I know as daycare owners, these are ones that you always need to know about. And that is, what is their legal status? So are they a legal guardian? Are they a non-guardian emergency contact or other, like a doctor or something like that? What's their pickup authorization? Do they have full pickup? They can pick up their child at any time. Are they limited due to a court order or something like that? So those are the two vital ones. You got volunteer expiry if they're authorized to volunteer, and then of course flagged. So if you do have a parent that you're concerned about that maybe can only pick up on Tuesdays or something like that, you can flag them, and you can put some private pickup notes here so that your staff know what the deal is, that they're only allowed on Tuesdays or something like that. And all of this information, not all of the information, but the information that room staff require, they will have access to through the attendance module, so they can see the children and see exactly what the situation is for pickup, and just, again, keeping our children safe and secure and all of that streamlined, so we're not releasing children to the wrong people or on the wrong days. The last little tab here is just their payment info. So parents, through their portal, will add in their bank account information so that you can take out automatic payments. Credit card is also an option. You can turn off credit card in settings depending on your preference, but there's also pre-authorized debit, which of course is typically the core for childcare centers. All right, we're going to jump over here to the family screen. Here's the family tab, I should say, with this little house. This is kind of the tab for the entire family as opposed to being specific for a specific child or member of the family. So you jump in here, you've got your ledger. So in your ledger, again, this is a demo center, so it's a little messy maybe, but in your ledger, you can set up all your auto invoicing. First, you can check, of course, their balances split by child, but you can set up their auto invoicing. So this is what will be automatically when you do your billing each month. Every parent will be billed automatically and in bulk so that you don't have to do it individually based on what you put in their ledger for auto invoicing. So as an example, this parent, it looks like they got 2 sponsors set up. It looks like it's probably mom and dad here. They've got an Alberta subsidy, so that's third party set up, and Alberta Child Grants. So they've got all those 4 different groups or individuals / third parties paying on behalf of this child. And so you can see over here, Alberta subsidy is paying $200. You can set it for dollars or you can set it to percentage. They're paying $200 a month. They have a start date of April 1st. Their end date is the April 30th, 2025. That's when the agreement expires. And so on. The child grant is here as well. And then it looks like what is set up here is that mom and dad get 50-50 based on percentage. So essentially the fee, whatever the fee is, will deduct the $200. That'll get invoiced to Alberta subsidy, the $626 invoiced to Alberta child grants. And then whatever's left over will be 50% each to mom and dad. And that's how they've set up their billing. You can also do it by dollar amount. And similarly, we've got auto discounting. So you can set up any kind of custom discount you want, staff discounts, and so on. And then you've got 2 more tabs here under the family. You've got the finance tab. So in here, you can see based on the month, you can scroll through, you can do date range filters. There's all kinds of filters you can use. You can see this family, this is their registration for that month that they would be billed on. Here's the actual billing. And then it splits it into their invoices and credit memos. So it takes that billing and splits it into those 4 different parties I explained earlier. And then there's no payments in this demo account on here, but if there was, you would see payments showing up in this column. So that's just to kind of, if you want to dive into the specific family, but of course, most of your billing that you're doing on a monthly basis is going to be done over here in the finance module, where essentially it's this type of view, but you can see all of your children at a glance in the entire center. So it's more of your bulk way of doing things. And then the last tab here is files. So under files, one of the things I like to brag about is our centers no longer have filing cabinets. That's actually not entirely true. They just turned into craft storage filing cabinets. But anyway, we essentially have gotten rid of all files in our center. Everything is digitized, and it's been so good for organization and really streamlining things for us. So essentially what the file system here is you can see right here, this is all automatic, these signed agreements. Everything they sign digitally shows up here. You can click on them, download, see what they signed, see their signature there. If your licensing officer needs proof, it's all right here. Here's everything they've signed off on. And that all happens through when they register online and they get their portal. It essentially they can't finish that registration process without signing on to all these documents, and they're all customized in setup, so you can have whatever handbook, whatever agreements you want. But essentially that's that one. So that's a default file that will always exist here. But then you also have custom ones. So you can create as many folders as you would like, and then you can upload whatever files you want to those. So if you have, let's say, a parent meeting, or if you have whatever it is, you can keep everything digitally and upload all your files and shred them if you're using a paper, or if somebody's just emailing you, maybe you use DocuSign or whatever you do, you can just store everything in this one spot so that you don't have to have a separate filing system on your computer or your Google Cloud or wherever you're using it to file all of your records for your children. So that is a little bit on the families module. So talking fast, but we're going to keep plowing through here and get through as much of this demo as we can. So next, we're going to talk about the staff module. This one's going to be nice and quick. It's very similar to the family module in that it is just essentially all of your staff and your staff's information. So if you click in, you can add staff here, you can click into an existing staff. We're just going to click into one just to see what it looks like here. So it's all their personal information, of course, some important I guess, fields to note is that we track expiries in the staff module. So if they have of course, in childcare, we have to track all sorts of things: first aid expiry, criminal record check expiries, and so on. Upcoming formal reviews, if you do those annually or however often you do them. And so you can put in those expiry dates, and in the dashboard as well as in the report section, there's nice handy reports where you can see all your staff at a glance. You can filter by who's expiring and who's upcoming in their expiries in the following month, say for crim checks or whatnot. And so you can quickly make sure that your staff get those updated. If your licensing officer comes in, you don't have to have, we used to have like a piece or basically an Excel sheet on our computer that we just manually try to keep updated all the time, and often it wasn't. And anyway, it ended up being a bit of a mess. So when licensing came in, there was things missing or staff missing or things like that. You won't have a staff missing because they have to be in the system in order to sign into the rooms for attendance. So they'll be here and you'll have nobody missing. So that's a little bit on our staff module. A couple other fields to bring attention to, just some favorite features that have really been great for us, is this typical shift start and typical shift end and typical break here. So what that is if you have a staff that works 8 to 5 and they get the half or an hour break or whatever you end up putting in there, you can put that in, and then what happens is if that staff works over that time period, so if they work over the hours of their typical shift minus their break in a day, there is an alert system in the dashboard that I'm going to show you when we get to that module, and it will basically alert you saying, hey, this staff worked longer than what you expected. And so then you can go in there and either approve it if it was true and that staff was supposed to work longer for whatever the reason, or you can go in and edit it. Maybe they forgot to sign out for their break. Maybe they put a little, signed in way earlier than they should have, or whatever the case may be. And you will save a lot on overpaying your staff on your payroll. So that has been a really nice feature. We used to pay quite a few. I mean, we're a large company, so we used to pay, I would say, a few thousand by the time you add up everything each month. That was overage, just because of manual errors like not signing out for lunch or things like that our payroll admin would miss. So this was a really nice feature to really streamline, ensuring that our payroll records are accurate. And of course, there's reports that you can pull then from ChildFriendly in the reports module to complete your payroll. If you use, depending on what you use, QuickBooks Payroll or whatever payroll system you use, you can pull those reports. So one last feature in the staff module, of course, you can see their attendance if you want to dig into that, but there's also files here, just like the family filing cabinet. You can see here that you can, like the families, digitize everything. So contracts, we use DocuSign at this point to sign contracts with staff, but even if you use physical paper contracts and you just want to upload them into here, then you're always going to have that contract. It's essentially their HR file, benefit forms, everything. We have it all on here. If it's on paper, we shred it after and just keep zero filing cabinets. So it's a great system that way. Okay, so that one was pretty straightforward and easy. We're going to now jump to the communicate module. So communicate module is kind of what it sounds like, communication. So anytime you're trying to communicate to your families, it's typically done through the communicate module. So number one tab here is email. So anytime you want to email your family, it's pretty straightforward. There's different ways you can filter. You can filter by child. You can filter, let's say, by group, and you want to just send an email to all of the dragons, guardians. It's going to send an email to all the legal guardians on file for the dragons group. So you can see here it popped up all of the families in that group and their legal guardians. You can, and there's many different ways you can filter here and find whoever it is you're wanting to send, or you can even do individuals if you just want to send it to an individual parent. You can blind copy admin or specific staff members if you need to. And then here's the email body and subject. It's completely formattable in terms of colors. You can insert images, you can attach links, you can attach files here, different ways. But one thing I want to bring that's a really neat little feature that kind of streamlines things for us and really adds that touch of professionalism is you can use these shortcuts on the right-hand side here. So if you hover over these, it gives you a little description of what that shortcut is. But you can say, if you're sending an email and you want to personalize it, you could say, hi, and then you can say the recipient's first name. So hi, Jenny, or whoever it is. comma, and then, continue typing your email. And that really personalizes things. Some other really handy ones are balances. You can say, hi, Jenny, just so you know, you have a total balance on your account of, here's the member balance due. So you can send that, and then you're actually sending it to a group of people, but it's all personalized as if you just sent it to them. So it's and it pulls their specific balance, obviously. So that's a really handy feature to streamline some of that. And then, of course, there's email history and things like that. So let's jump. I don't want to spend too much more time on emails. It's pretty, I think, straightforward. Let's jump over to the journal tab. So this one, of course, is a very important tab that in terms of communicating to your parents. So this is what I was mentioning earlier, where it's that Facebook type feed that your families will have access to in their portal, but it's a feed of their child. So when we're in here as a teacher, I should back up actually. You have different permission levels in ChildFriendly. So right now you are seeing an administrator permission level, so essentially someone that has access to everything. Your room staff are not going to have access to everything. They're only going to have access to certain features. But one of those will be this journal tab here. So they'll be able to access this. And the school RSVP I mentioned earlier, the attendance. There's a few things they can access. And this, of course, there's an app for this. That's friendly for an app version of the software. So your room staff, if they're using a tablet in their rooms, they will have in their login, they'll be able to access all those different features from that app. But anyway, so as far as today, you're just seeing the administrator view. And if you're wanting to send a journal, so let's say I'm the, let's see who we have here. Let's say I'm, excuse me, the Bears staff. So I'm going to probably filter for the Bears children because I don't really need to send journals for anybody else. So I'm always going to have this filter, and it'll save it there so I don't have to keep doing that every time I come in. It'll save your past settings. So now you can see only my Bears children are going to show up in here. And then let's say I want to do a journal. So I want to send a journal, let's say, to the whole group because we did a group activity. And so I'm going to click all of them, and I'm going to click this plus sign, and I'm going to add a journal. So here's the different types of journals you can do. So we'll go through them real quick. There's learning journals and activity journals. So that's just going to give kind of a fancy little icon for learning or a fancy icon for activity. You can click on them. You can upload photos. You can even upload, right now this says photos. We're going to change that to attachments because it's not just photos you can upload. You can actually upload documents too, whatever you want to upload here and attach it. And then you can write a description, hey, today we were doing a sensory activity and look how much fun the kids had, or whatever you want to add to your description. You can, if you click these off, it's going to make it private. So if you click staff admin view only, it means that only your administrators and your room staff can see this journal, not parents. If you click admin view only, even staff won't be able to see this journal. It is just for administrators, so those that have that permission level. And so where would that be useful? Well, probably not for a learning type of journal entry, but what if you have a meeting, so a private meeting, and you only want, sorry, you can't do a private meeting with all of them. You can just do one. So if I click one child and I want to have a private meeting, then I can put in the subject, I can put in the time, I can say admin only is going to have access to these notes. I don't necessarily want parents to see it, but I want to keep a record in that child's file of these meetings. I can attach meeting notes, I can put in a description and submit, and that way it's in our records for that child if we ever need to look it up for licensing or for our own purposes later on. Similarly, maybe you do observations. Maybe you have a child that has some extreme behaviors and you're doing regular observations and you just want staff to essentially note down their notes on this child, and you don't necessarily want parents to see that, then maybe you're going to click that off. So different reasons why you might have that private. But let's look at some other options here. There's achievements, but then there's things like food. So, if they have breakfast and they have most of it or whatever, you can add photo, however you want to do it. Potty, of course, this is always a fun one. Dry, peed, bowel movement, all the different types, what time it happened, all the things that us only daycare people realize that they have to track. It's in here, whether they had an accident and so on. And then you've got nap time. So when they start their nap, you can toggle that on. When they end their nap, you can toggle. That one's kind of nice because you can kind of multi-select and have a bunch of children that fall asleep, start them all at once, and then end them all at once, or whoever as they wake up. And then you've got, so these last ones I just want to show you, they're a little bit more particular. So a little more that goes into them. So how we were doing and how many centers do their health reports. So this is if a child is having has a fever, they're sick or whatever the case may be, we would actually fill that out on a piece of paper. So there was a report, a little template we made, we'd fill it out, and it was hit and miss in terms of how professional it looked after it was filled out by the room staff. It would then go to the office. The office would call home or whatnot. Parents would get that report when they came and picked up. Again, hit and miss on professionalism of the report, and then they would sign off on it and pick up their child and bring them home. And then there's nothing. The next step is that they would it would get filed in our office physically, and then our office admin would have to actually take that report. And the same thing with this, similarly with incident reports, they happen the same way, or accident reports. But they would have to take all those reports and we'd have to manually enter them into basically an Excel sheet because as per licensing regulations, you have to kind of track, you have to have that all available for licensing so they can see all the different incidents, all the different illnesses, and you can kind of track them to see if there's incidents happening, let's say in the bunnies room consistently, you can kind of pull up a report and track all of that. But we had to manually enter that in from our physical reports into our Excel tracking sheet so we could look at all those different incidents and based by the room and so on at the end of the month, or if licensing wanted to see a report of all of them all together. So it was extremely manual, and I assure you it is not how our office staff want to spend their time, their ECEs. It is not something that they're wanting to sit there and type in reports all day long. So, and it was a significant part of their job. We unfortunately have a lot of incidents in daycare, and that's just the way it is. Anyway, so we have essentially digitized all of this and really saved a lot of man hours in doing so, and professionalism. So how this works now is you can create a health report here. You can put in the time, when it was identified that they had a fever or whatever, their temperature, the symptoms. These symptoms are all customizable here. So in the setup module, we've thrown in these ones, but you could put in any symptoms you want. We put in a little kind of explainer here that's helpful to the families in terms of what to expect. So the child must go home and stay home for 24 hours or whatever your policies are in accordance with Alberta health regulations or your health regulations. But anyway, you can select your, oops, sorry, I exited that. You can select where were we? Your symptoms, then you can put in your description, was first aid needed, and so on. So those are all the different things you can do. Let's just look at an incident report here. Same thing. It's essentially the same as what the form was, but the paper form, but it's digitized. So same thing, you can put in your incident reports. When you actually press submit, for those incident reports, it's actually going to go into the dashboard. And once it gets to the dashboard, which I will show you when we get to the dashboard, essentially there's a kind of an approval process. So it sits in this little tab for pending approval. Administration then gets to see that notification. They see there's an incident or an illness, and they can read it, they can edit it, they can approve it, they can send it back to the staff saying, no, that's not okay, you need to adjust it, or they can just adjust it themselves, approve it. As soon as they approve it, then it gets sent off to the parent app and notifies them. So that is essentially how that works. Last one on journals is the, here we are, the medication. So medication, there's two different medication types. So there's medication, regular medication. So the ones where, at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. every day, you're giving that child these meds for, the next 3 weeks or however long until it expires. So those are regular medication. There's also the occasional or emergency medication. So through the journal tab, you can also, whenever you give a medication to a child, an emergency or occasional medication, you're going to do that here. For the regular medication, there's an alert system so that you can see when it's upcoming and due and so on. For staff, that's all through the dashboard, so done a little bit differently. But if there is an emergency and you just need to actually say that you gave the medication, information, again, all digitized. We don't do this physically at our centers anymore. We don't have the medication kind of administration list posted on the wall where we physically write in when we give a child their dosage. It's done through the journal, and all the record is through the journal. So the parent has it, we have it on file, it never gets missed. The fields have to get filled out, and so on. So you can fill out the information here. This is all in accordance with regulations for licensing, and you press submit, and then that medication, administration of that medication is on file. And it's only going to show the medications. Oh, sorry, I should have come up with a child that has, I don't know, can't remember offhand which children we have in the demo that have the medication set up, but it's only going to let you actually select medications that haven't expired. So again, another control to make sure that you're not giving medication to a child when their medication has expired that's on file. So making sure, again, to avoid those non-compliances and those human errors. But essentially, it's only going to show you ones that are available for that child, and then you can click them and input the rest of the information there. Okay, so that's journal. So moving on. Let's talk about that dashboard. I keep talking about it throughout, so we may as well just jump over there and get that out of the way. So let's jump over there. I'm just cognizant of our time, so I'm going to have to talk faster. So on the dashboard, this is, again, just kind of when we designed this software, I wanted to really create a dashboard that was your one-stop shop for your office admins to really do everything that they have to do in a day. So they're just constantly in the dashboard, and it's all those kind of right there, nice and handy items on their to-do list. So we're going to go through this really quick because I want to get to finances and possibly reports today as well. So we need to be faster. I need to be faster. So on the enrollment tab here, what this is that when a parent registers online, and just to jump over actually, just to show you real quick, I've set up this fake website here, and you can see that our registration will essentially, you can embed our registration form into your website. So whatever website you use, or you can set it in the form of a link if that's how you do it with parents. But either way, it's a form here that you can embed wherever you want into your website. They can fill it out. They press next, and they pay their deposit. Essentially, after they pay their deposit, or they can add themselves to the wait list. It automatically knows if there's space or not in the program based on their age and so on. They can add themselves to the wait list accordingly, or register. Then when they pay their deposit, it gives them a confirmation screen. And it essentially says for them to finish the registration process, sign their agreements, and to do all of that, add in emergency contacts, medications, allergies, all that stuff, they have to log into their parent portal. So it sends them a confirmation email with their login information, and they can log into the parent portal. It doesn't let them do anything else in the parent portal until they have signed all the agreements that you set up, that you have. And again, these are all custom, but that you require for them to sign off on, add their emergency contact, all those things that licensing requires. So that's a little bit of the registration process, just very briefly for the sake of time. Once they register online and pay that deposit, if they were waitlisted, or if they registered for the waitlist, they'll automatically go to this tab, the waitlist. But if they didn't, if there was space in the program and they could register, they're going to go in this tab and wait for approval. So we call this the onboarding registration tab. So essentially, this is for your admin staff. When they see a new child has registered, they're going to show up here, and your admin staff can go through that child. They can add a schedule, a registration schedule, so add them to a room, and all of that kind of what I briefly showed you in the families tab. You can click the child here and just click the registration tab and add their schedule in there. Or they can move them to the wait list or deny them if they want. Or when they're happy and they've given them a room and everything's good in order, they can press complete and they'll disappear from this list. They'll just be in your families tab, but they won't be here anymore. But the nice thing is these three columns here are automatically checked or marked or X'd off if they haven't or have completed them. So if they have paid their deposit online, they're going to get a check. Now, this is a demo center. Normally, you can't really register without paying your deposit. So you would just see checks essentially all through here, but because this is a demo, it's not set up that way. But anyway, they're going to get a check mark when they paid. The portal form is that initial, it's all of the initial form that you saw me just do for on the website there, the registration form, but it's also that when they log in, the licensing requirements. So essentially, portal form is everything that's required for licensing, all the fields that are required for licensing. And again, forces them to fill those out, or else they don't have access to the rest of the portal. So that's what that is. And that way you know that you have every phone number, you have every contact, you have everything that you require as per licensing for that child. It automatically checks out. Your admin staff don't have to go verify that for themselves. And then there's bank information. So if you're, depending on what your own policies are, if you require parents, if you only offer pre-authorized debit payments, for instance, and you require them to fill out their bank information, again, they do that through the portal. As soon as they do, it'll automatically check that off, so you don't have to follow up with them and say, hey, you need to add your banking information. So those are all automatic. But then you have these custom columns. So family tour, cubby, emergency info. You can have as many custom columns as you want, and you just add them over here with these 3 dots. You can add or remove custom columns. So this is really nice because there's many other things that we all know. We need to create a cubby for that child. Maybe we need to give them a tour. We need to print their portable emergency form, so their physical form that licensing requires that you have in a binder or on file in your center, just in case for some reason you don't have access to the internet, or you have to leave because of a fire, you grab the binder or whatever it is. So we have that portable emergency form available in reports for printing for the children. But anyway, whatever custom things, columns, checklists you want to give your staff, that's all customizable. So that's the onboarding enrollment tab. The ending enrollment tab is very similar in that it is any children that have enrollment coming to an end. So again, we all know in daycare, you're going to have a process that you have to follow as your children have given their withdrawal notice and so on, to make sure that you have cleared out their cubby, that you've sent home their artwork, that you've whatever the process is that you have. It's going to be all custom. And again, these are custom columns that you can add, change, color code however you want. Once you're happy and you have completed all of the offboarding or ending enrollment, you can press complete, and it shows you when their registration is ending and so on. So we won't go too much more into that. Quickly, waitlist, I know is huge right now. There's waitlists everywhere. And so the waitlist is nice. It keeps it nice and organized for you. You can change priority level. So if I wanted this child, maybe this is a sibling, so I want them to move up in priority number 1 on the waitlist, I can do that. I can filter by age, start date. There's all sorts of different ways you can filter so that you can easily contact families on your waitlist and fill those remaining spots. All right, jumping through. Attendance, I'm not going to go through all this for the sake of time. This is just that staff overtime, essentially where I mentioned earlier, if you have a staff that has worked longer hours than they should have, they will show up here until they get approved. So the next day, you don't have to do it the same day, but the next day or later that week, you can go through and your office admin can just go through and approve them, or you can click in and edit them as needed. So that's your staff overtime tab. Again, this is a demo, so there's, hopefully you don't have this much over people working over their shifts, and then you've got records here. This is all your attendance records. And so we won't go into that, but essentially it'll have all your records for licensing or anything you require for attendance. There's also some nice reports you can pull there. Regular meds, I do want to show this one to you. I mentioned it earlier in Communicate, how under Communicate for emergency meds, you do it through the journal when you're administrating them. But for ongoing regular medication, where it's like every day at 3 or whatever, you do that through this dashboard, and your room staff will have access to this dashboard as well. And essentially, it's going to show anybody upcoming. This is a daily thing, so it's a cycle that happens every day. It's going to show anybody that has upcoming medication due. It knows what time. In this case, it's 3 p.m. that's upcoming. And you also have the due now. So if there's anybody where it's due now, as in with, I think it gives you like a 10-minute window or something, either direction, it's going to show there. Or if you have anybody that's past due. So this child, for instance, was supposed to be done at 10 a.m. and got missed. So, and then all you do is you can either complete them if you are administrating the medication so that they get finished, or let's say you're skipping it because maybe the child's absent that day, so you don't need to give them their medication. So you can pick whichever one. If you press complete, you just essentially put in their dosage and any notes, the time you did it, and check it off. And then of course it'll show up. Actually, let's just do that real quick. We're going to complete this child, and then it's going to show up here under records. So you can look by any date. If licensing ever wants to see your records of the medication given, you can of course access this on the individual child's file as well. But if you want to see kind of a group or all of your medications at a glance, you can see that here. You can filter by group, name, different ways you can filter here. So you have that record. Incident illness reports real quick. This is the what I talked about earlier, where these reports will actually go over here to the pending approval tab. So I don't have any to show you right now, but there's essentially anybody that submits an incident report digitally there. There'll be an approval action that you can click approve and or edit it or so on. And then of course, once that's done, it's been sent off, you can see the records at any time, pull it, filter by date, whatever you want to see, filter by location, however you want to see it or however your licensing officer wants to see it. And the same thing with illness records. School RSVP, this is where your bus drivers would go there. I'm not going to click into that. Expiries, let's go. Sorry, just for the sake of time, we're going to skip those two. Expiries is what I mentioned earlier, which is where you can look up when crim record checks and things like that are expiring all at a glance. You can also look up all your subsidy expiries, so that's an important one too, as we obviously have to remind parents fairly regularly to make sure their subsidy gets updated. That's all easy to filter for and look up and then remind parents accordingly. Info changes. So information changes. What this is parents online on their portal can update their information at any time that they want to, so that you don't have to do that anymore. It's up to the parents to keep their information updated. However, when they do, you don't want something to update, like an allergy to be added to a child's file or a phone number to be changed without your knowledge. So it won't actually, it'll kind of go into a pending state in their parent portal, and it'll be sent here for approval. So you can come in here, you can look at, this is student info, members would be like mom or dad updated their information or payment information, and then member information here. But let's look at a student one as an example. You can view the change. So in this case, they've changed their first name of the student to this and their healthcare number to this. So it shows you what's changed. If you're happy with it, you can approve it, or you can edit it. Maybe they made a little mistake. You can edit and approve it. You can reject it altogether and just not allow the change. So those are your different actions there for info changes. And meals, very quickly, this one has been great for us for grocery lists. I have all sorts of more features I'm excited to add to this, but we just got the basics up for now. But essentially what this is if I want to click a group, let's say bears, and let's say I'm going to serve today, I'm the cook, and I want to serve, we're serving pork on our menu today. Well, I know now that I need to bring 18 servings of this pork menu item. So whatever our lunch is that has pork in it, I can bring 18 servings of pork to the bears room, and I need to bring just one serving of something else, maybe a vegetarian alternative or whatever you have as an alternative for that child. And so it really helps you, first of all, helps your kitchen staff know how many servings to bring to the rooms. It also helps with grocery shopping, because you can, if you don't filter by group and you just want to see your entire center, you can see 106 children are permitted to have pork and 7 are permitted not to. So that you know now, oh, I need to make 7 vegetarian dishes on this day and 106. So it kind of helps you make sure that you're cutting those costs in terms of not overbuying certain ingredients or whatever you need. And you can do that for all the different menu items you want. And these are all customizable and set up. So you don't have to have seafood and chicken, beef, pork. You can have whatever meals. You can even put all your individual meals in here if you really wanted to. So however you want to customize that. Okay, moving along, running out of time. We're going to skip reports today, except for one report I just want to very briefly show you that you will probably recognize. Sorry, my internet is great. I live out on an acreage, so apologize for my internet. Anyway, so reports here. And we have all sorts of different reports: attendance reports, enrollment reports, rosters, safety reports, allergy reports, everything you can think of. You can even get custom reports. We can create them if there's something specific that you require. But the one I wanted to show you is region reports. So this one, if you're an Alberta center, this one, the demo we're doing is specific to Alberta. But you're probably going to recognize this report. So I'm just going to look at the Alberta 100-hour report, and you should recognize this from your claims portal. So it looks identical to what you have in Alberta claims. So essentially, it just streamlines your claims process. So easy. This is for the grants, the child grants. It's that report, so you can see how many children were 100 hours or less based by the age group and so on. You can even click in here and actually see which children it is that are making up that number. amazing for audits, a year down the road, and the government is asking you, oh, why did you claim 23 children in that category? You can just go back, pull up that month, and it's right here. And you can say, oh, actually, here it is. And it's all .csv. You can export it. And this is, of course, based on registered hours as per the regulations. You can toggle on and off if you want subsidy, if you want the children that are on subsidy versus not subsidy, because, of course, we know that that's how the Alberta government requires you to report these. And then you just essentially copy and paste this information right into your claims portal. And we, of course, being Alberta based, we are on top of any changes. As we know, there's been lots that are happening at the Alberta level in terms of their reporting and their claims process. We will be right there and update these as those changes happen. And we will have similar reports if you are based in BC or another region. Whatever your region is, the reports will be adjusted based on your government's requirements. There's a subsidy claim here report too, has all the information you need to do your subsidy claim. If you're a preschool, here's your grant report as well. So that's one item I just wanted to bring to your attention. Okay, let's jump to finances. Again, running out of time. I apologize. Okay, so finances, this is where you can really streamline and make sure you're collecting very easily from families and invoicing very easily. So let's just say it is, sure, we'll say it's February. All right, so let's say it's the beginning of the month. I need to bill all of our families. I go in here to February, and it's quite simple. All I do is click them all off. Just again, this column, it does not mean they've been billed yet. This is just telling you that they have an active registration in February. And so you know that these are all the children that are actively enrolled and therefore, would likely need to be billed. It shows you what rate you're expecting to bill them and so on, what program they're in as of February and so on. So you're going to click all of those off. For the purposes today, I just want to do 2 of them, but you could just click them all at once if you wanted. And you can generate their billings with credits. So if they have a credit from maybe last month or in previous months, a subsidy adjustment came through, whatever it is, then it'll deduct the credit from their billing or their invoice, or without credit. So pick whichever way you want to do it, and you generate those billings. And so instantly, if we click them all, it's not instant. That's why I only click 2. It takes about, a minute maybe. But anyway, so once you've done that, it essentially creates their billing, and all these families have been billed. They'll be able to see this in their portal instantly. They can see if they're a parent, and they won't have access. If you have divorced families, don't worry. There's parameters in place for that kind of thing. They can only see their own bills. But anyway, we won't go into that right now. But essentially, it splits it up. This is their overall billing, and then it, of course, splits it up into whatever invoices for whatever you had set up in their auto billing under their ledger in their family tab. So now let's talk payments. So we've billed them. It was that easy, literally a click of a button, and everybody's been billed for the month. Now I can go in here and I can click off, and I can say, okay, I want to accept this family here actually paid. So there's a little button here. They actually came in and they paid by cash. So, and they paid their bill by cash, and they paid it probably not today, whatever. I think we were in, I can't do in the future. So I probably should have used October as an example for this demo, but anyway, so let's say they paid it then, and they paid by cash, then that bill or that cash payment is there. You can view a receipt here. You can email that receipt here to all the emails on file. Just click and email it and so on. The parents can also pay directly from their portal. So they can go in, they can see their bill, they can click pay. And if they've added their bank account information or their credit card information, if you allow credit cards and set up, then it'll just instantly get paid from their bank account direct to your bank account or their credit card. So they can do it from their portal as well. So this is for those manual payments, but the bigger one that you probably use more often is what we call the PAD payments, the pre-authorized debit payment. So that is this little icon here. You can see here it's faded out. That's because this family actually, or this member, is not set up for PAD. And because this is a demo center, most of our, we only have this one person here set up for PAD as a demo. But normally you'd have all of your members, or many of them, set up for pre-authorized debit. And so that wouldn't be faded. So you can do it individually if you want, but to save you a ton of time, what we do is if you click this button here, it'll select everybody, every one of your families, and you can do some bulk actions. So even if they are not set up for pad payments, you can still click them all off, and what will happen here is bulk pad payments. So it's going to create a pad payment for the one selected item. So you can see here, even though you selected everybody, there's only one that qualifies because there's only one that's set up. So it just makes it fast for you. So it's only going to actually process that one person's pad payment. So I'm going to click that real quick. But again, this would be 100 long. The list would be 100 long if everybody was set up for pad, but in our demo, only the one is. I'm going to press submit. It submits it, it sends the request off to their bank, it takes the money and deposits it to your bank account. So that's how easy it is. There's literally, you don't need another system, you don't need to register EFT with your bank or pads with your banks. You just do it through ChildFriendly directly in setup, and that's it. You've collected your payments. And then if these come back NSF, there's a system for that so that it'll automatically invoice them their $40 or whatever you put in your setup fee for having an NSF payment if there was insufficient funds or whatnot. There's awesome filters here that you can filter by and see real at a glance any NSF fees. So you might want to check in a few days, throw in your filter, look for recovery invoices. And so on. You can, again, tons of filters. You can look for any invoices, for instance, invoice that, let's see, has no payment or refund. So if I want to look at all invoices, personal sponsors, I click apply, and it's going to pull up everybody that doesn't have a payment yet for that month. So right away, okay, these are the two families I need to get on their case. So there's so many filters to make your life so much easier to collect those payments. And we are out of time. So I am going to stop there, and we are going to jump over to, sorry, I got this thing blocking my screen, back into this presentation.
Yeah, sorry, folks. Yeah, thank you for the presentation, Laura. Yeah, we'll get right into Q&A. If anyone has any questions, if you will take a look at the upper row of your meeting screen, there's an icon that says Q&A. So if you have any questions you would like to ask, feel free to drop them in there now. Apologies, this ran a little bit later than expected.
I talk too much, that's why. I just get so excited about this software, so it's fun to share it with you guys today. I wanted to make one comment while we're waiting. If there's any Q&As, again, please book a demo, a live demo. We can get into more details with you. But I did also want to just kind of explain how the pricing works, as you're probably wondering, and it looks like that's a question here. And that is, we actually don't charge a subscription-based fee. So you could have our software today. You could sign up. There's no charge. You don't have to put in any information. What it is because we are actually a merchant. So we're both a software, but we're actually the merchant as well. We partner with Rotessa payments and Stripe for credit card. And essentially all we charge is a fee on the transactions you actually process. So any pad transactions are a 1% fee, any credit cards are 3.75% plus 30 cents a transaction. So that is how we get paid, if you will. It's through these merchant fees. And then of course a portion goes off to the merchant that we use. So that's how that works. The nice thing though, I want to add, is that this 1% fee, if you're processing a pad payment or the credit card payments, you can actually pass that off to your family. So you can, and it all happens automatically. So it just depends how you want to do it. But in setup, you can decide, I want to pass off that whole 1% to my family. So when they pay by pad, if they're paying $100, that $1 is added to their invoice as a merchant fee, and they actually pay for it. So you end up as a center essentially using our software for free. So that is very simple. That's it. That's our entire pricing model, so that you're just aware of it.
Thanks everyone for your time. Yeah. Feel free to email us if you have any more questions, book a demo if you're interested in specific features. Yeah. Have a great day. Thanks so much, guys.
Bye.